Surprise! It's another piece on our long-term GR86. I know you're shocked. Yeah, we're not shocked. This is a very interesting piece though, because this is the one that kind of inspired us to do a whole series on this car.
We bought the GR86 to compare to as many cars as we can think of. But there is one particular car. That is a Cayman S.
The Porsche Cayman. I'm not sure there's a car that we have recommended on this show more than the Porsche Cayman. On video, on the podcast, this is that car that people are always surprised they can afford and can't believe how good it is.
Think about this. Both cars, naturally aspirated boxer engines, 6-speed manual transmissions, rear-wheel drive, and most of all, the weight. They're within 100 or so pounds of each other, and the price is very comparable.
A modern Porsche Cayman is going to cost you more than double what it costs to buy one of these. But this is where used cars come to the rescue, because a first-gen Porsche Cayman is right about the same price as this. Of course, this is a less powerful, less expensive front-engine rear-drive car. Where this gets really difficult is when you start asking questions like, which one's the better one to own? Which one would I rather spend my money on? And which car of these two is more fun to drive?
So if I choose the GR86 over the Porsche, we will be accused of being bought by Toyota. But there's a big problem. Of the two of us, I'm known to be the Porsche super freak. I love Porsches. As a matter of fact, I love Caymans in particular. But if I choose the Porsche over the GR86, well, my bias is showing.
Great cars, great roads, and all the reasons we love to drive.
TV, web, and podcast. This is Everyday Driver.
We take this review so seriously that Bridgestone has stepped alongside us with RE71 RS tires.
On both of these cars, it has 200 tread wear. It's borderline cheater tires for the road. You would assume, just by hearing of the two cars we put together, you would assume Cayman, because it's more expensive and it comes from Porsche and it's mid-engine. But what's interesting is this 86 chassis, there's very little to complain about in the dynamics of this car. Now, there are still issues in the GR86. That engine, while better, cannot come close to the engine in that Porsche.
295 horsepower, 251 pound-feet of torque. But like all Porsche engines, naturally aspirated, they always make all their power way high in the rev band. When you wind it out though, that sound, oh my gosh, listen to that.
That great howl from this flat 6 engine is, yeah, it's wonderful. That is the thing that the 86 can't begin to compete with. Of course, the delivery here is also naturally aspirated, just like it is in that GR86, but the delivery here is just more.
Yeah, this makes more power, but it's not initially. I feel like the GR86, because it's a little bit lighter and it's geared differently, makes more power down low. It kind of gets going sooner than this. But once you get past 4,000,
forget for the moment that the engine is more interesting to work with in this car. It just has more power per weight than the GR86 does. So if you run your numbers, if you have your calculator handy, this is doing roughly 10 pounds per horsepower, and the GR86 is doing just over 12. That leads to very simple equations like a faster 0 to 60.
you remember the specs on this car. 228 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque. It got the power that it needed. This kind of power is nothing. And how do you convince somebody that this low power number is going to be any fun at all?
This engine in the 86 is down 1 liter in capacity and 2 whole cylinders off the one in that Cayman, but this is putting down a 0 to 60 of about 6 seconds. The Cayman is a full second faster, at least. If sheer straight line speed is the thing that you're shopping for, the Cayman already won. But that speed differential back here on a fun road isn't going to make any difference. You're not going to suddenly have more fun in the Cayman because it happens to be pulling around 2 less pounds per horsepower. Both of these cars can be equally quick and equally fun on a back road.
When it comes to shifting, the GR86 wins. That shifter in the Porsche, there was never the crisp feeling that this one has. There was never that deliberate, I'm in a gear feeling. You can mostly figure it out. It's a manual, and it's good. This shifter is far better, so much more information. The inputs are light and interesting.
The 6-speed in this 86 doesn't slot gears with as much metallic authority as what's going on in the Cayman. Metallic authority, that's going to be the subtitle of the Cayman from this piece. It also might be a really good metal band. I'm just saying.
Everyday Driver is brought to you by Griot's Garage. Use the code EDRIVER for 10% off your order.
I think everybody was initially skeptical when Porsche brought this out, and it earned rave reviews, and deservedly so. But like we've always said, if a car is good to drive, it doesn't matter the year it was built. If the chassis is good, the dynamics are good, sure, it might have an old school kind of feeling, but if it makes you smile and you're having fun, why not buy a 15-year-old car, or even older? What percentage more fun am I having in this than the GR86? I think it's over 50%, which justifies it. I'm already leaning towards the Porsche, and not because it has a Porsche badge, but because of the mid-engine configuration, because of the dynamics. And tires alone have teased out so much of the car. But the natural feeling of the steering is so rewarding. I know car manufacturers are working on electric steering to feel like this, but there's such a natural, good, satisfying feel in this.
The steering on this car is wonderful because it is a variable ratio rack, but it also is a hydraulic assist. The steering in the new Caymans isn't really any better than the steering in that GR86, but this generation, these early ones with hydraulic steering, yes, it feels better.
There's less information in this car initially, but when you go faster, it gets better than the GR86. If you're looking for somewhat of a medium to fast car, the Cayman is for you. It's fun to feel that weight shift. It's just so interesting.
Now with these crazy sticky tires, the information is just grip, grip, a little more grip. Later we're going to serve up some grip. There's something special and rare about mid-engine rotation, and so this is probably the most accessible, usable mid-engine chassis most people can get into, and that makes it extremely compelling. And it is a wonderful car to drive, and objectively, yes, it is better than the 86.
I love the steering input in the Cayman better. I hate to say it. No, I don't hate to say it. I love to say it, actually.
All of the driving interaction in the 86 is lighter than it is in the Cayman. Everything there feels a little tougher and more metallic than it does in this 86. This has electric power steering, and it doesn't give you as much information as is available in that hydraulic assisted Cayman. However, this is one of the better feeling electric power steering systems out there. The 86 is close to the top of the list, up there with other Porsche products. Now, in this 86, I am aware that the lump of weight is in front of me. Versus the Cayman, I can tell it's behind me. That manifests in the steering. You can tell in the point of rotation, and the Cayman is further back. It's more up front near the dash in this car. But that difference in rotation didn't change the amount of fun that's possible.
I am struck every time I drive this car that this is the one I want to be in. I like how this car plants and composes itself over bumps and through corners. It's such an interesting balance. What's crazy is this car can now surprise many others. Wow. The tires have erased the understeer.
This car tells you so much about what's going on. There's very little chance it's going to bite you. But if you know how to drive well, you can extract so much from this 86. If you have an 86 like this and your buddy has a Cayman and you go do canyon runs together, if you're equal drivers, you're going to run bumper to bumper with each other. This car will not get lost in the canyon because the other person's driving a Cayman. The only thing we did change on this car is the brakes. Yikes. Okay, yeah, those are good now. They're very good. Toyota's not offering a brake package yet from the factory. I'm sure they will down the line. And some people in initial testing didn't find the brakes adequate enough, especially not for track. Well, one of the things we did is partner with our friends at PowerStop. They sent us their Performance Street Upgrade Kit right away as soon as they had it for this GR86. We put it on it, we did a test, and that braking power was better with just their simple rotor and pad upgrade.
But past that, it has Power Stop race pads. We've also put Castrol SRF fluid in the brake lines, so this is really ready for track. This is because this is our car, and the Cayman S is privately owned, stock brakes, but upgraded tires. The cool thing about these Power Stop race pads, they don't squeak like race pads when you're just driving around normally. That's huge. That means you could just leave them on. I mean, this is the kind of braking power that I want from this car all the time.
Everyday Driver is brought to you by Covercraft. Use the code EVERYDAY22 for 10% off your order.
Another thing these cars have in common is a internet fear issue, an issue that is destined to happen to any of these cars if you buy them. Google RTV or IMS and come back to me terrified in the next 15-20 minutes. You'll think you should never buy either one of these cars, and I'm sorry that the internet lied to you. Is there a chance of something going wrong? Yes, there is, on both of these cars. Those are known issues. The chances of them going wrong in the one you bought are slim. Also, in both of those cases, it's something that's supposed to rear its ugly head when you track the cars. So let's go track the cars on good sticky tires. Sure. Why not?
Sort of like skiing and snowboarding in the same day. Full street drive, full street review in the morning, and track time in the afternoon. I love it. Caymans are designed for this. This is its natural home. Oh yeah, these tires are great. Now, full caveat, this car does not belong to us, and we're driving the GR86 probably far harder than this one. Also, the brakes are a bit questionable on this car. They're starting to fade in the first session, and I can already feel a little bit softer, so what I'm gonna try to do is just kind of keep my speed and hang out. Yeah, they're soft. Okay, we'll just hang on. Oh, that steering feel is good.
I've heard that the Cayman on the first shakedown is having a little bit of braking heat issues. We'll see how that plays out. We may end up better off here just because of that brake setup. These tires are a total cheat code. They're shocking me with how good they are. Brakes are great. This car just rotates really well and is so easy, even on track. It has enough power now that you can rotate it under power, which is great. You can't get crazy and throw the back around, but it will rotate under power. There it is. There's the back. It's controllable, wonderfully controllable.
I mean, compared to the GR86, this car turns in. It's not a sharp, disconcerting turn in where it's gonna upset the car. You can really slide this car around the track. It's designed for that. It's so neutral. Even if you let off too late and you're not fully smooth on your inputs on this car, it allows you to smooth things out just by virtue of that weight shift, that weight transfer. The progressive steering is just so rewarding. This is why I love Caymans. Every little thing that I do is rewarded, and I get information for anything that I do with the wheel. Yeah, I can feel them. Need to start on the brakes a little bit earlier. That's okay. The point is rotation in these cars and power on. There we go. Got a point by. And just think, this is the first year of the 987 Cayman, and it's still just so enjoyable to drive.
Same Bridgestone tires on this. That engine's so much better. The brakes aren't as good here though. I can tell that in the middle of lap 1. They have performance pads on, but it doesn't have high temp fluid, and I can tell that the brakes are tired already. And I'm a lap in. That's too bad.
It's interesting, compared to the Cayman, the GR86 feels like a little puppy. It wants you to just screw around and play with it more. Whereas the Cayman feels far more serious. We've got business to do. Oh, these brakes are delightful though. Yeah, see the turn in? Let the car back end come around, come on. The turn in is immediately crisper on this car, I feel like. But the progressive steering on the Cayman just feels much better to me.
Oh, mid-engine rotation is magical though. If you've never driven a mid-engine car, there is something special to it. You have to treat it a bit differently from a front-engine car. That 86 pushes by comparison. The Cayman has a delicacy when it turns in that the 86 lacks.
It's pushing a little bit, whereas I feel like even though I wasn't driving the Cayman quite as hard, it wasn't pushing quite as hard. I mean, maybe. It is easy to heel and tow. Stay to the outside, let that back end come around. Yeah, power on. Slidey, slidey, slidey. See, that's fun. Now, if you want this car just to play with its limits and hang out at its limits, that is perfectly fine. But I feel like I'm always looking for the next serious level, and the Cayman does it for me.
Oh, the Cayman's easy. As mid-engines go, it's inviting you in all the time. It's got less of a power bump and feel on the track than I was expecting. I expected to be kind of impressed by the power. I'm impressed with the noise, but the power is only marginally better in a track situation. The difference here is mostly down to preference of feel. I mean, I like the hydraulic steering better, definitely. I love the way a mid-engine car turns in and the clarity that you get in the steering feel. I love that. And the GR86, because it's front engine, of course it can't provide that.
I can't pass it. See, Cayman's right there. I cannot pass it with this kind of power. It's sort of like the Miata problem. Yeah, it'll eat you in the corners. Oh yeah, we're not racing, right? We're not racing. Doing better than the GR86. As much as I love this car, this track session alone is proving to me that the Cayman is where I'd rather be. Even though the brakes on this are amazing, that can be solved on the Cayman.
If you prefer the front engine feel, that 86 is so solid. I can't believe the great grip of that car, and I don't really think that I'm much faster in this Cayman, if at all, and I suspect with the braking problems, I'm probably slower. I just can't be as confident on those brakes. But this car just asks to be beat on and wants to go quickly. That engine's glorious, but it's not the change I was expecting, honestly. I was expecting a more profound difference in throttle response and in just sheer power on the track, and I think that 86 is doing, frankly, almost right on top of this.
Oh, I love this. I'm impressed that this little GR86 is doing so well and hanging on so well. But like I keep saying, what I want is the car that pushes me as a driver more. And that will be the Cayman.
When we reviewed the best laps of the day, we realized the 86 was actually 1 second faster than the Cayman around the track. That means the better brakes on the 86 made all the difference.
This is a very close race, and it really comes down to how do you use your car and what do you need it to say. No one is ever going to say, look at me, I'm a rock star, I drive a Toyota GR86. This Cayman has cachet that the 86 will never have. I'm less interested in which one you are prouder to own, and I'm more interested in you driving the car that you will take out in more conditions.
This can be argued endlessly for the rest of time. You can also argue, of the two cars, which has better community support, which has more parts and upgrades and support and maintenance available. I'd say that they're about equal. They're pretty well matched.
There's a lot of nuance here because both of these are fantastic to drive. If you told me you bought either one of these cars, I would ask you if I could borrow it. That's how great they are.
I'm biased either way. Either car that I choose, I'm biased. But for me, the Cayman is where it's at. There's still so much here to tease out, to extract out of this car.
But the reality check here is you are buying an older Porsche versus a brand new Toyota product. That means there will be maintenance, and when the maintenance comes, it will be astronomically expensive compared to what you're probably used to if you haven't owned a Porsche before.
This is where I want to be. I want the push. I want the mid-engine rotation. I like it better. I'm more satisfied driving this one. I really do think the GR86 is so much fun. But if this one is available, I will take the Porsche.
This feels like they made the best version possible. It just has to cost quite a bit more than that one. But used cars to the rescue. That's the benefit. This is a little bit better car, but it has trade-offs in less usable space and more of a daunting reality to own it.
It's been nice owning this car for as long as we have now. It hasn't been quite a year, but every time we drive it, compare it to things, I'm continually reminded that I'm not crazy. The steering inputs are great. There's cars that have more, there's cars that do it a little bit differently and therefore appeal to different senses, but it's hard to discount this car. It really is, in all situations, because now it's just gotten so capable.
The Cayman should be the better car than this. It should be a resoundingly better car than this. It's a Porsche, it's mid-engine, it's twice as expensive when you buy it. But the interesting thing for me is every time I climb into this 86, I'm not disappointed. This 86 is in my top 5 favorite affordable, usable sports cars. It's way up there, and so's that Cayman.
Everybody gets a gold star. Both cars are amazing. That's the headline.
Name me your top 5 songs. Name me your top 5 movies. Can you pick a number 1? It gets a lot harder when you get into favorites. At equal MSRP, at equal cost, that's a challenge. Which one's for you?